Welcome to The Explainer. We take complex stories, break them down, and present them in clear, concise explainers so you can see the full picture.
Today, we're diving into a series of incidents at Nigerian airports that they spiraled into this huge controversy. And it's raising some pretty fundamental questions about who really calls the shots in the country's aviation sector, and whether the rules apply the same way to everyone.
Okay, so let's get right into it. This whole thing kicked off with two totally separate events at Nigerian airports back in August of 2025. Now, they were unrelated at first, but you'll see how they quickly became tangled up in the same national debate.
So first up, you have the popular Fuji musician Wasiu Ayinde Marshall. You probably know him as KWAM. He was involved in a pretty serious disruption on a ValueJet flight. Then, just a few days later, a passenger named Comfort Emmanson gets into a really heated argument with an Ibom Air crew member that ends with her being dragged off the plane and arrested. Of course, videos of both incidents went viral, public outrage just exploded, and that set the stage for a really dramatic intervention from the top.
And that intervention came directly from the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo. He stepped in and announced a whole series of decisions that he said were made on, and I'm quoting here, compassionate grounds. He really framed it as a moment for everyone to just, learn some valuable lessons and move on.
So what did this intervention actually look like? Well, for Comfort Emmanson, the criminal complaint against her was dropped. The lifetime flying ban she got also lifted. Then there's KWAM 1. His 6-month ban got slashed down to just 1 month. And get this, it was announced he'd be brought on as an ambassador for airport security. So, in the minister's eyes, this was case closed. But for a lot of people watching, the real story was just getting started.
Right. So almost as soon as the minister made his announcement, investigative journalists started digging around. And what they found, especially in the case of Comfort Emmanson, began to clash, and clash pretty hard with the official story we were all given.
And here is the first huge contradiction. The minister's statement made it sound like he had to talk Ibom Air into dropping the case. But according to reporting from the Foundation for Investigative Journalism, FIJ for short, the airline actually never wanted to go to court in the first place, partly because they were worried about bad PR. Their sources said it was the police who were really pushing to prosecute. Now, the second point really gets to the core of that whole compassionate intervention. The minister said a key reason for his decision was Ms. Emmanson's great remorse. But the FIJ report, it claimed the exact opposite, that she wasn't remorseful at all and was actually gearing up to fight the whole thing in court because she felt she was the one who had been wrong.
So you can imagine, with these conflicting stories making the rounds, the minister's decisions unleashed this storm of criticism. We're talking about legal professionals, aviation experts, and they all started raising some very serious concerns about what was going on. For example, the prominent human rights lawyer Femi Falana, he basically argued that by stepping in like this, the government had just wiped out its moral authority. His point was, how can you go on and prosecute the next person who breaks the rules at an airport when you've done this? And that view was definitely shared by aviation security experts. Retired Group Captain John Ojikatu called it a very serious interference. He argued that the minister was way out of his lane, stepping on the toes of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, the NCAA, which is the actual regulatory body that's supposed to handle enforcement.
Another lawyer, Evans Ufeli, zeroed in on the long-term safety risks. He warned that if you start forgiving serious safety breaches like these, you create a culture where passengers think they can get away with anything. And that, of course, puts flight crews and other passengers in real danger.
And for a lot of civil society groups, it just came down to simple fairness. Abidun Bayewu from Global Rights Nigeria put it bluntly, saying the whole thing just screamed double standards. One set of rules for the politically connected and another set of rules for everybody else.
So, all of this criticism really gets us to the core of the whole controversy. What are the actual rules for handling these situations? And maybe the most important question of all, who's actually supposed to be in charge of enforcing them?
Well, if you go look at Nigeria's own aviation regulations, they are crystal clear on this. They spell out exactly what an unruly passenger is and what counts as an offense. But here is the most crucial part. The regulations give the power to the aircraft commander, not a government minister, to take whatever measures are necessary to keep the flight safe.
So this entire episode has really just ripped the curtain back on this deep, deep tension. Is it about a minister's power to intervene or the independent authority of the regulators? Is it about compassion or is it about accountability? Is it about the rule of law for everyone or does political influence let you play by a different set of rules? It forces all of us to ask, who really has the final say on keeping our skies safe?
And in the end, that's the question we're left with, isn't it? It's a critical one for any government anywhere. Because while compassion can be a good thing, you have to figure out where that line is. The line where a leader's compassionate intervention crosses over and becomes dangerous interference with the very rules that were put in place to protect everyone.